Right.
Hey, how's it going? This is Dave March. We're doing I think, the last Land of Confusion for the hell of a year of 2020. And this is my co-host.
We've survived.
Yeah. This is my co-host, Don.
Hi, I'm Don Tillman in Silicon Valley, Palo Alto.
And
where
we're talking
it's a somewhat chilly day.
And here we are talking to Omega Paladin when the moderator is on Ricochet.
Hey.
Excellent. Welcome aboard.
Yes, I am a recovering mad scientist in the Chicagoland area. So where should we begin?
Well,
actually, you're not in the city of Chicago. You're outside.
I am in the city of Chicago.
Oh, okay. Very much. Okay.
It's
what's it like there right now?
Yeah, what's it like?
Okay.
What's Communist Central?
Okay, first of all, it's a very different experience if you're visiting versus if you live there. When you live in Chicago, you get used to certain things. You get used to things that I would not. When I grew up in a small town on the Mississippi River, on the border between Illinois and Iowa. Okay, this going from there where I had a high school class of 92 to here is a big deal, and you get used to things. Like you get used to seeing random crazy people, lots of them, and I had someone who I think thought she was a witch and was trying to cast a spell on a bus driver, and similar experiences on public transit. Right now in Chicago, it's very strange because you have people going to and from work, but so many of the places are locked down because of stupid policies that don't make any sense.
Mm-hmm.
I work at a university. The policies at the university I defend them because they're actually done with some kind of care to actually trying to stop disease from spreading. The policies done by Lori Lightfoot are stupid. There is absolutely no biomedical principle that says a virus is less likely to spread at certain times of the day. That is insanity. That is absolutely, there's no scientific basis for that whatsoever. There's no scientific basis for a lot of these proposals that they put out there. I mean, sometimes it seems like they're just trying to do it so they can show off their power and act important.
But, you think?
Yeah, I think.
I think some of it is that way. I mean, I have a very right-wing premier here in Ontario, and I think it's just desperation. And like they've tried everything to fight this, and they keep going more and more draconian because they don't see any. That's all they know how to do. And it reminds me, as a historian, it reminds me of World War I, reading about these generals just constantly feeding people into the front lines because they don't know anything any better. And that's what I feel a lot of times with, at least when I see a right-wing guy do it.
Well, it's sort of indicative of this nasty component of human nature, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And it blossoms where, well, that's not the right word, but it grows where it's allowed to. And it's tough to work out like a kind of government arrangement that counters it effectively. It's really tough because
it's not so
as we see here, this behavior right here, just pretty awful from, California, right? Newsom and all, and the local cities. But yeah, it's pretty awful. It's pretty awful. And it seems built in, and we need, as civilization, we need to come up with a way to hold this back, I think.
Well, I think it's more of a, I think your last part is getting onto it. It's more of a cultural thing, a cultural break on things as opposed to a legal or governmental break. Sometimes you want the ability to do some things in case of emergency, like the emergency stop on a train. If you really want that, but you don't want anyone pulling it when it's not an emergency. However, we seem to have a large number of politicians who are eagerly lining up to get their turn pulling on the brake handle for our society and our economy. Now, as far as California goes, I would like to tell you that I am known to the state of California to cause cancer and reproductive harm. You've seen the Proposition 65 warnings, right?
For those who are unfamiliar with this, there are cancer warnings on just about everything in the state of California.
Wow.
Everything is known to the state of California to cause cancer or reproductive harm. And this includes things like playground sand.
Yeah.
Because a brick, because it contains sand.
Right.
Never mind the fact that you can't, if you have, that silica causes cancer and silicosis when it's inhaled in a finely divided form. When you have it in a brick, unless you start grinding off things and then storing it like cocaine, then you're not going to get cancer from a brick. Though, if you start storing it like cocaine, you have other problems.
Yeah.
When like a year or two ago, James Lilacs came out here to give a talk at a conservative group, and one of the first things he said when he spoke was, "California is quite pretty, but it seems everything causes cancer here."
I used to work for a place that made safety data sheets, and wow, that was an eye-opening experience. You get to see, if you ever wonder why those things are so poorly put together and so hard to read if you ever poke at them, it's because the system has become more and more rigid. The internet, they said, okay, we're gonna get a globally harmonized system, the GHS, and I worked with some of the first versions of it, and I kind of adapted a version off of it that worked fine with it. But then they put on this other section, which is very rigid, and you have to put in specific phrases. It's designed for a European approach, and it's designed to be easily translated. So it's basically, you can slap in these machine translated phrases so you can get a generic phrase for certain chemicals and such. And yeah, of course, you have to have your Proposition 65 warning, all of your different chemical warnings. We would run into issues because we would have the software would automatically flag ethanol, ethyl alcohol, as a cancer-causing chemical. Well, you see, ethyl alcohol is only viewed as a cancer-causing chemical if you're knocking back the bottles of hooch. If you're just drinking, if you're not drinking the ethanol, if you're like using it in like a cleaning product, it's not actually a cancer-causing agent. So I had to put a lot of these disclaimers on this. So yes, this thing is saying it is a registered carcinogen, but no, it's not. It's not actually going to give you cancer. Stop running around like Chicken Little here.
Since you brought up safety and warnings, can you explain what those diamond-shaped letters with the colors and the flaps are all about? Because I never understood those.
There's two different things that look like diamonds. The one that that's at the flaps, that is a placard. That's regulated by the DOT, Pipeline and Hazardous Materials Safety Administration. They come in a variety of different types. You can remember them by the acronym every good firefighter should receive cash money. Every explosive, G for gas, whether flammable and such, that's a 2. F is flammable liquids. The next F is flammable solids. Going on. You have other things like oxidize dangerous when wet, radioactives, and of course they even have a miscellaneous. And my favorite tag though is dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
There's no statement of what it is. It just says dangerous. The emergency response guidebook, by the way, great thing. I recommend if you're ever going on a trip with kids who are even somewhat geeky, get a copy of an emergency response guidebook or the ERG app and give it to the kids, and they can figure out what the toxic trucks around them.
Put it in the comments.
Yeah.
It will go in the comments there. But anyway, you got a whole bunch of stuff in the hazardous materials on the trucking going around. You can have all these different placards, and the ERG will give you different responses to how you do it. What they're meant for is if there is a accident and the firefighters are coming up to this thing and they want to know, do we advance, put out the fire, or do we get the heck out of Dodge?
Right.
If you see a 1.1 on this side of thing, that means you get the heck away, because that's an explosives truck. And
wow.
Our firefighter is like, I believe it's like Tex. I can't remember his name. Like Tex, our firefighter. He's a Texas firefighter guy, and he could give you more details on how they would respond to these kind of things. But that's what the placard is for, to tell emergency responders what's in the truck, so they don't like wander into a poison gas cloud or into a thing that's going
right. Now there's like some materials, for instance, that explode when you hit them with water.
Yep.
Right?
There are alkali metals and a whole bunch of other materials. My favorite are self-reactive ones, like various organic peroxides. You see, these things have what's called a self-accelerating decomposition temperature, which means you can leave.
By the way, we hit all topics on this thing.
Oh yeah,
all topics.
Yeah, we just wander all.
If you talk about, you ask me safety questions, I will answer them. That is my job, and I love it.
Great.
I love my job. So we go. So you have a self-accelerating decomposition temperature. That means if you just leave this thing sitting on your counter, the heat of a normal house will cause it to explode.
Okay.
So these things are shipped on refrigerated trucks. They're used as initiators in certain types of polymers. There was actually a chemical safety board video. I'll put links to the chemical safety board videos in there.
Great.
Awesome.
And where they had a bunch of trucks that were actually at a hurricane where they had to keep the stuff cold, and eventually they had to abandon it, and then the trucks all caught on fire because eventually they ran out of gas and they couldn't keep the stuff cold. But yeah, you run into some interesting chemicals there. I would say the nastiest chemical I've ever run into was probably the time I ran into dimethyl sulfate. That one I was inspecting a lab, and I was looking underneath a can. I saw this heavily contaminated bottle of a material. And I'm wearing. I had gotten a huge surplus of latex gloves. I figure out where this is just a bio lab, right?
Mm-hmm.
No, there's not going to be too much of chemical hazard. I pulled this thing out. Is this dimethyl sulfoxide? No, dimethyl sulfate. Oh, then I noticed that little tingle in my hand. See, dimethyl sulfate is regulated as a war gas. It was used as a chemical weapon in World War I. This is a problem. I immediately take the gloves off, go rinse my hands off, and I told the person that they had two options. They write a detailed multi-page SOP on standard operating procedure on how they're going to handle this thing without killing people, or they get rid of it. Naturally, since they didn't want to write this SOP and they were probably a bit freaked out by me, frantically cleaning my hands off after I touched it, they got rid of it, and I'm glad I don't ever have to see that again.
Oh, how do you get rid of such a thing?
It's not that hard. It's not. I mean, you send it off for incineration. Go. It's amazing what you can throw into a concrete kiln and it will be destroyed by the super oxidizing temperatures inside there. I mean, you can get inside of a concrete kiln, it'll just basically trash all kinds of hazardous waste.
Oh, great. Tips of the day.
Yep.
We try to do everything.
Oh yeah.
Household tips.
Yeah, I actually wrote a post that has like laboratory safety advice for your house, around the house. So it got the main feed. I can put a link into it in the comment section if you want.
We're going to have a lot of links in the comment section on this video.
Why not? It's great.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So actually, what can we in California do about all this signage and this declaration that everything causes cancer, and thus nobody takes any of it seriously?
You can use the scientific evidence. I don't have the citations for it right now, but I've seen papers before on this. It's a known thing in human factors that if you're constantly showing an alarm, people will tune it out. This is a known thing. This has been known since it had to be like the 40s that this has been defined and known from the old gauges and dials era. If you're gonna, when they're designing like an aircraft display, you don't have a red alarm flashing all the time. Otherwise, the pilot won't notice when they're about to run out of fuel and crash.
But we choose facts over science. So
yeah,
Biden said.
And I have a feeling that's why a lot of people aren't taking the virus as seriously as they used to, because it's been on red alert every day for 10 months.
It doesn't help that they have the people who are talking about this, for one, seem to only be following the rules when the camera is watching. I mean, I used to have the highest respect for Tony Fauci. I mean, I thought this guy was rock solid scientist. I still think he has great scientific knowledge and such. However, he let the power go to his head, and he also proceeded to do some fun things like be seen in a crowd not wearing a mask.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, if you're going to be a public figure and you're going to be practicing this, you need to try and set a good example. Okay, I used to be kind of lackadaisical about recycling. Then I got the job of establishing a recycling program, and as my roommates could testify, I became extremely diligent about it. Because if you're going to do this, you can't just be a normal hypocrite about it, because people will look at what you do, not at what you say.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to be understanding, and you have to try and make the rules as the least restrictive rules possible. There are ways we could have opened up things sooner, but people wanted to ratchet things up. Yeah. That's what you saw with Darth Gretchen in the governor of Michigan. Yeah. Like, you just kept on ratcheting it up, making things. I mean, things like garden seeds. What? There's no evidence at all. There never was any evidence that gardening in your own backyard garden was going to be a risk of COVID. Never. That's
not why they did that. I can say I looked into that. So why she did that is because she didn't want. It was unfair that the florists couldn't sell seeds, but Walmart could. So she told them not to do it. So it was not about COVID. It was about fairness.
Oh, You can't see me rolling my eyes here.
I know. I fully agree, but it was just like there was a lot of like we were more concerned about fairness than saving people's lives. Like,
I don't think they're really concerned about fairness. I think it's just power.
well, yeah, and it was like the florist lobby.
It's
it
like,
was a
quote,
big
fairness.
thing, and they gave her money, so she had to.
Okay, I'll tell you right now what they could have been doing if people really wanted to focus on saving lives, they should have immediately gone after certificate of need regulations.
Mm.
There are regulations that say you cannot build excess capacities of hospitals.
Right.
You have to file a certificate of need. This is not in Canada. This is in the United States.
Mm-hmm.
That if you want to open up a new hospital, you have to go to like your state health board and get a certificate of need. So we have the government literally keeping us at lower capacity of hospitals than we could be, which means the government is I wouldn't say deliberately, but it is overtly keeping us at a lower footing and to respond to disasters, catastrophes, and
which government
epidemics.
is this?
Mostly the state governments. From
State governments.
Okay.
And this is
it's also just remarkable opportunities for graft and corruption,
of course,
and that's a win-win.
That's a
for them. It's a win-win.
I really like a lot of what Glenn Reynolds likes to do, the Instapundit does on this. I really have a lot of admiration for that guy because he gets a lot as of very pithy phrases. It's like, well, this could help more people, but it has insufficient opportunities for graft, so it won't be done.
Yeah.
He's good at that. He's really good at that.
A good guy for that is David K. Johnson. He's a bit of a lefty, but he has a book called Free Lunch, and he just exposes how these guys do things. And he's like, I'm sitting in an airport in Washington, waiting for my flight to Washington. A guy gets up in the middle of the airport and says, I'm on my way to Washington to go and get money for stuff. He's like, at that time, this was like the George Bush era. He's like, every second of every day, the United States government spends $250,000. And if you can get that hose turned on to you for 30 seconds, you're a millionaire.
Yeah. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I mean, academia, aside from the intellectual side of it, the financial side of it is basically competing for access to the hose.
Yeah.
That is. Yeah. I mean, it's all about getting grants. It's like, and it's, people like to say that we're past the age of ritual magic. Grants are a form of ritual magic where you propitiate the sky gods of Uncle Sam to throw, and the council of the NIH and such to throw money at you so that you can actually do your project and hire your postdocs and such.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, the university system is basically propped up that way. It's even, you work for a private university, you work for a public university. It doesn't matter. All of them are being propped up by grants.
Yeah, and the thing is that regular teaching is not an expensive operation.
Nope.
It's not. Doesn't require exotic resources or technologies or anything like that. You need people who are naturally good teachers and who know the material and are eager to inspire and all that, the craft of the profession. But
I would say the only areas that are really expensive that are expensive to teach are laboratory and arts and other practical classes.
Mm-hmm.
There's a reason why, they in high school you usually have like a lab fee. I don't know if they still do that.
Yeah, but even then, that equipment is generally not. I mean, sure, some cases it's some really exotic stuff, but then again, you generally get those as gifts from companies that make that sort of stuff and are eager to supply. So, but yeah, in general, I think education should not cost very much, and both the way college costs have gone crazy high, and I say that as a father of 2 kids in college, and the way K through 12 also, it's just insane.
If you look at how the tuition money goes around, the things that you'd want to cut would be you want to take a look at student services majorly. They are one of your big areas where you're going to be spending money. I used to work in student government when I was a student, and even back in ye olde 2000s and such, there was still the same kind of money's flowing around, and you can get in and get some of this student activity money that you can give for various groups. And that kind of money, it's all over. They're throwing this money around to all these different student groups, and paying for student unions, various student activities. I remember taking part in some of them, and I just was like, this was not my thing. It felt, I wasn't here to go hang out with a bunch of people and have at one of the cases they had a fake orgasm contest. Okay, and I will leave, and that's all I'll say about that. But they, so yeah, you got all kinds of stuff that you're paying for. Then you got all the diversity random stuff, and all of the fields of knowledge where you're paying someone and it's never going to actually produce something useful later on. The joke about feminist basket weaving or whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Everything that has the word studies in it.
Right.
Well, some friends of mine back in the 80s, they were going to university, and they were part of the campus conservatives at the time. And there was some group that was set up by, who's the Green Party candidate against Bush back in the 2000s? Trying to remember.
Nader.
Yeah. So he has his groups on campuses, but they're funded by money from the students. But in Ontario at the time, you could get your money refunded if you went in for a certain point. You said, "Oh well, we don't really. I'm a Christian. I don't want to support this group. Whatever." So the conservatives went around to all the engineering dorms and dropped off pamphlets that said, "You go to the university at this office on this day, and you can demand $20 for a case of beer." So suddenly, the student administration building is flooded by 1,000 angry engineers who all wanted their beer money.
Yeah,
I love it.
Yeah,
I love it. It's my conservative never quite got that well. We did get David Horowitz on campus, which was great. But yeah, I actually
I bet that went over well.
It went over. It went over pretty rough. I mean, when I was initially starting out as a conservative, I actually didn't start out as much of a conservative. Okay, when I was first going off there, I was a Christian. I had recently become a Christian in '99 over the summer. But when I got in college, I wasn't really that conservative. I was somewhat pro-life and very pro-nuclear energy, and but I wasn't. I was seriously considering voting for Al Gore. Okay. It wasn't really. I wouldn't say it was so much parental rebellion, because my father was, he is I would say probably classified as never Trump. You could call him the older version of a punchy con. I don't know. He's but anyway, moving on. I was never I was I wasn't really super interested in the Democrats, but I was also not really a Republican. All that changed when a bunch of crazy people, crazy evil people, decided to crash planes into buildings, and that was
Right.
probably that was the formative experience of my political life, especially when I saw people the next couple days trying to blame the U.S. for it, and I was like, I don't want any part of this. I want, I want, I want dead terrorists.
Mhm.
Okay, I have a lot of things that I dislike John McCain for. Okay, I think he was a horrible politician and a horrible Republican. But he actually had a thing where he was telling he was stating that to the terrorists, God may have mercy on you, but we will not. And that was summing up my
Yeah.
point of view. I didn't, wasn't really interested in justice. I was interested in revenge and making sure no one was going to be so crazy as to screw with the U.S. again.
Mhm.
So, like, I actually jumped on the national defense conservatism before I was, even more so than I was a social conservative. I think at times I used to say I would vote for, a communist abortionist if he would kill lots of terrorists.
Oh wow. Okay.
I wanted, I basically, I want, I, and yeah.
So you voted for Obama twice then?
Well, I didn't realize he was actually he tried to play down his whole killing of terrorists thing. Well, I will say this: I did put a thank you President Obama thing in my signature for a while. I'm active on a science fiction forum. I used to be active. I haven't done so much lately, but I've done the science fiction forum for about 20 years. Since it'll be it's 20 years now. And my signature on there for a while had a thank you to Obama and SEAL Team 6 for killing Osama bin Laden.
Yeah.
But I mean, I guess it's, a stop clock is right once or twice a day, depending on if it's digital or analog. So, but yeah, that. So as I went on, I started hanging out with conservatives. I started getting a better understanding of things. I actually was persuaded by an argument, an online argument at one point, which I tell people that sometimes it actually does happen. Sometimes just like a unicorn sighting, you sometimes have someone be persuaded by an online argument. Well, I used to believe in gun control. Then some people explained what the assault weapons ban actually banned, and then I stopped believing in gun control, even though I'm not. I didn't. I was not raised with guns. I've only shot a gun within the past this past year. Okay, my father is a big proponent of gun control, and never would have wanted me to go shooting or anything like that. So, but yes, sometimes actually people are persuaded on arguments, not just a screaming match.
Yeah.
So
anyway,
let's see. Perhaps a topic switch. Since this is a Ricochet podcast, and you're a moderator, is that right?
Yes, I am.
What's that like?
Okay.
I have no idea. I have no idea.
All right. What does being a moderator let you do? I've written a post about this before, but basically,
We'll include a pointer to that.
I talk about this kind of stuff other places, and being a moderator means that you can edit posts and delete them or close comments on threads and other things. We cannot do anything to a member. Like, we can't ban someone or or suspend someone. That's only up to the editors and site management. So if we decide someone did something really bad and they need a timeout, or we got to throw them in the penalty box. Then that comes to the editors, and that's usually handled over Slack. If you've never used Slack before, it's a chat application.
Yeah, and, a lot of businesses use Slack.
Ricochet is one of them.
Chatty like communications.
Yeah.
For those of you who are unaware of it, it's very popular certainly in the startup world out here.
I've never seen it myself, but I know a lot of my friends who are working in business. They use it all the time.
It's like a web chat. If you ever use like old school web chat, like AIM or instant messenger or something like that, where you have a chat with a bunch of people. For older geeks like myself, it reminds me a bit of Internet Relay Chat, IRC. I still do that. For younger people, it's a bit like Discord, but with less video games and video chat.
So let's see. So you folks communicate over Slack,
and we basically a flag will come in. By the way, all flags are delivered by Chuck Norris. Like the bot that delivers the bot is called Chuck Norris, in moderator. Anyway, so I send in so someone flags a post, and it comes in there. Nothing happens off of a flag. Sometimes we get accidental flags. People often are like, "Oh, I accidentally flagged you. Don't hurt them." I'm like, no. All it is just a notice that says, "Look at this post."
Right.
And if we see something that's just bad, we'll usually go in and redact it, and then we have access to a thing to let us edit the post. If something really bad, we can bring it to someone else's attention, and we discuss things about it, and then see if the COC was massively violated and such. All the people who are moderators are volunteers. We get the benefits of having a Reagan level membership in terms of writing posts and such, and we don't have to pay a membership fee. That's what we get for being a moderator. There's no payment or other things involved.
So when you have if they ever have that big dinner in Washington again, you don't have to pay for that.
It involved me actually getting out there.
Yeah.
I am known as the guy who the conservative who rides socialist rail or subsidy rail. I take Amtrak a lot.
Okay.
I take it to meetups. Like when they have the Milwaukee meetup, I joke that I'm taking taxpayer rail to up there.
So okay, let's see. You mentioned something about old vintage Unix platforms or something.
Oh yes. You see, I've been captivated by computers since I was little. See, my dad is a computer gamer, and he has been a computer gamer and playing video games with me since I was extremely little, and like helping him push the buttons on his Intellivision, which is from the Atari era. I grew up watching Tron incessantly. The two movies, kids watch the same movies over and over and over and over again until all the adults in the area are like dreading having them pull the video up again. Yeah, my two were Tron and one of my dad's fire safety videos, Levy. Link will be included in there. So anyway,
fire safety videos with Jim Carrey.
It was a fire safety video that was animated, and it had like a tanker truck blowing up. And I was probably the only 5-year-old who could tell you what a boiling liquid expanding vapor explosion was. Okay. I have a plush fire extinguisher my late mother knit for me. She could like make all kinds of things. It was like this cute little plush fire extinguisher, with the ring, has a little gauge and such in there. The ring is actually like a key ring.
Okay.
It's, I have it sitting up there next to, you know, like my family picture, girlfriend, and all that.
Mhm.
So, but anyway, so yeah, old school computing.
Yeah.
You know, the old school hacking area and such. I never really got into it because we didn't have internet, and I was more into gaming than that. But I grew up using MS DOS.
Mhm.
I had the first computer I was playing games and typing school reports on was a 286 with a monochrome monitor. I remember when we got the 386 with 80 megabytes of hard drive space. What would you do with all that storage space? That's like, how many floppies is that?
Yep.
Wow.
TI 99 4A.
Oh,
That was the first computer we had in the family.
Yeah, I can't remember the actual
cartridges.
brand of the computer. You know, I never used Macs. It was always PCs. I remember when we finally upgraded to a Pentium. I remember we got this game and it had a really good use of our new sound card. And my dad and I were sat entranced there at the sound test of finally a cannon fire. And this video game used like movie grade sound effects.
Mhm.
So you have this father and son sitting here listening to the sound test because it was so awesome.
So Tron, the movie Tron came out roughly like 81 or 82.
82.
82 was?
I did not see it at the time it came out because I was a baby.
No.
But I watched it, you know, pretty soon thereafter. You know, like I think it was a Disney movie, and it popped up on, and I watched it. It was the only thing I watched I liked from Disney. I never was into any Disney characters. Tron, I would watch that thing incessantly. I remember, you know, I have memorized a lot of the lines from the movie, and you know, yeah, and so all that
Now,
is led up to me being interested in older style computing and with you know, terminals and such.
right. Well, Tron came out about the same time that Unix was starting to take off. It was getting more popular then. And before that, every computer manufacturer, I'm talking like industrial computer, because I came from more of an industrial computing world. Each computer maker would have to build their own operating system. So DEC had one, Data General had one, you know, Wang, Computer Vision, all the Hewlett Packard, they all had separate operating systems. And Unix came along around 82. Well, it took, you know, it's not a specific point. Although, since I happen to have here,
Nice.
I don't know if you can see this.
Yes,
You know what
Bell
this is?
System Technical Journal.
Yes.
Oh, I can't.
This is it working?
I can read it. It says Bell System Technical Journal.
Yeah.
This is the introduction of
Unix
Unix.
implementation.
This is the
Oh, sweet. I have got to send you this. There's a site called called SDF.org. And what it is it's a public access Unix server. And that's where I do my retro computing. I actually have a Gopher site. Like if anyone here remembers Gopher,
I do.
which was the
The
thing
name.
before it was it's still around actually. You can still get around, you can still go to I actually have an archive of people of Ricochet fiction posts on my Gopher hole.
Right.
In plain text format. But yeah, Gopher was basically.
So this is where Unix was kind of introduced. This is where the Bell Labs opened the kimono, woohoo, and described Unix to the world, and it started to get more popular after that, because the individual computer companies, HP, DEC, Data General, so forth, they're getting tired of like all doing the same thing and not being able to offer anything special. And here you just and having gratuitously different commands to get regular work done. And so Unix took care of that. And so that it was very much, folks were eager to adopt it as the next thing in terms of just an operating system.
Excellent. This is
so it's pretty funny. My wife does work for local public library in terms of like book sales and things. And she was talking about somebody was interested in the Bell System Technical Journal, volume 57, number 6. And I said, oh, sounds very familiar. Let me check. And sure enough, I have it.
nice. Nice. I like it.
So yeah, this was where, it was introduced. The time sharing, implementation, retrospective, the shell, C programming language defined here, portability, Unix on a microprocessor, document, and some of the early applications, document prep, text processing, language development tools, more stuff. And yeah, this was, 1978.
Yeah, sadly I was even under even from a Catholic perspective, I was not around for that. But
Catholic perspective, okay, I understand.
Yes. So, yeah. Now, that was. Yeah, I think that was after my dad got off the aircraft carrier, but before he had got data about it.
So I came at the computer world differently. I from more industrial computing. With really high performance.
Like a mainframe approach.
Well, no, they were called mini computers originally, but they ended up getting pretty large, pretty substantial computationally, and DEC pretty much pioneered the whole industry.
Gotcha.
Digital Equipment Corp, and they sort of made computers for academic or for lab situations. And so they weren't mainframes, but they were potent. They had very potent computationally. And a lot of the computer problems were solved in those days by those folks, those mini computers. And I sort of, it was confusing to me that the people using the microprocessors, which were invented in, I don't know, in like 70-ish, and they were going up for like 8-bit machines to maybe 16-bit, and they were crawling up slowly, and they hadn't learned what all the industrial computers had already knew. So things like, virtual addressing, protected memory space, all the multitasking, all those things that were really well developed in the industrial world. The home computer market just didn't have it at all because they had to work with a tiny Tinker Toy kind of setup. And then what happened was those grew up. They got better and better and better over time. And they learned some of the things from the industrial market, and the industrial computing market sort of fell apart. Now, in those days, we'd use a terminal to tap into a Unix kind of machine, and from home, because you couldn't run one of these at home, which wasn't practical. To use a terminal on there. And then that was, the overall paradigm was changed. So we had the whole computer on a desktop, laptop even. It's pretty powerful. And now in these modern times, we're going back into this with the cloud computing. So we have the equivalent of a terminal going out into big, enormous cloud computing facilities. So it's
one of the things that people always forget is there is no cloud. There's only somebody else's computer.
And but you know, they have them set up so they can be shared nicely. It's no different than the old time sharing.
Sorry, I've been a little distracted. My condo board just exploded on me. So I'm like, what are you people doing?
Sounds messy.
Oh yeah. We've just voted a binding resolution, and now they're like, oh, we want to throw out the resolution. I'm like, what are you guys doing? Did you not read all those rules that we had to sign with the government? Anyways, sorry for that. That's just
that's right.
I can understand anytime
stuff.
That's like now you have that right there. That's a bit of understanding about how Ricochet works behind the scenes. People have this thought of Ricochet being this monolithic organization, but you really want, if you're going to hang around as moderate Ricochet, you need to be a good fan of Scott Adams Dilbert, okay? Because that is very apt for what goes on behind the scenes. I will not get into any further.
Oh yeah, we recently, with our show with Blue Yeti and talking with some of the other people about what was going on in the post-election world, and I was like, oh yeah, well you're right, Scott, you're a business, like this makes sense. And I just remember like some of these fights. I can't remember who the guy was. He did the Daily Shot, and every Friday night he would start a flame war that would last the weekend. It was just like he would just put up this very never.
Let's not name names.
And it would just, well, he's not on the site anymore. So.
Oh, okay, go nuts.
But he would start these.
Fred Cole.
What's that?
Was that Fred Cole?
Yeah. For 2 years, we would just every Friday night there would be a massive flame war on the front page of Ricochet, and I was like, why are we letting this guy do this? So I can understand why they were reluctant to let a lot of the posts get to the main feed in the post-election system.
He also did that before that. He did those really delightful daily emails.
Yeah, it was great. But there's something.
You understand, like, I think a lot of people just kind of were broken by exposure to the Orange Man. And I can say that as someone who used to be in that case. I literally left Ricochet because I thought Trump was leading us to a disaster, and I just like threw up my hands, and I didn't want anything to do with it. I was actually watching someone do like a video game, showing a video game that was about rally racing on election night, because I was just like so tuned out, and I just figured I'm going full escapist. I'm going to lose myself in video games because that's going to be the only solace I have under the rule of the hill to beast. But then my friend comes in, he's like, am I drunk, or does it look like Trump is winning? And I'm like, no, I haven't had any alcohol, and yeah, it looks like they're predicting Trump winning. And yeah, after that, I figured I'd give Ricochet another shot, and talk with the people who are big Trump fans and find out what they saw and what. I realized that I had been wrong about Donald Trump, and I figured I'd find out what the people who were, Trump supporters actually thought. But yeah, I understand. A lot of people were real, exposure to Trump basically caused them to flip their lid, and it's unfortunate because there are people who are not around here who would. I think we're not, if they were not exposed to the color orange, would probably still be on Ricochet. So.
Oh yeah, I totally get it. It's like the world's changing, but one thing I can say is that I dropped it on Dr. Bastia's post this week, and I had him. My former Prime Minister Stephen Harper does this 5-minute PragerU video, and he's like, "This is what's happening to your country, or your party, the Republican Party, is that you're changing in a different direction. It happened in Canada 20 years ago, and you're just catching up to a lot of where other countries in the world are. So it's not that Orange Man caused this to happen. This stuff would be happening. This realignment would be happening regardless of whether Trump or Orange Man got elected. This was happening anyways. Like there are people who were Republicans for years who are just going to be Democrats now. Really, they have to make that mind up. And their Democrats are going to be becoming Republicans because this big mix is happening that you haven't really seen since maybe kind of the Reagan Revolution, certainly in the 1930s, where the Democrats were much more conservative back then, and then they became liberals. So we're just watching this big shift happening.
Except I'm not seeing it from an ideological change.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean,
no, it's not ideological.
I'm not seeing it as
really
being
driving it is just that the interests of different people are different now. There was an alignment usually of the national security Republicans and the wealthy, but they don't feel they're home because all the disaffected Reagan Democrats have come and taken over the Republican Party. And the real reason you don't see it's so weird because the two-party structure in the States has been fossilized in place. In most other countries, you would just blow up your political party and start a new one. That's what happened in Canada. But because the Republicans and Democrats have so rigged it up, so their two parties have dominance in a way that you don't see in any other country. It's just easier for people to come in and take over an existing political party.
I disagree, sir.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a lot easier to take over and redirect a political party.
Yeah, that's what I just said.
Start a new one. Oh, okay.
Oh, but in Canada, that's what happened. In other countries, this is what happened. Like in Canada, the Conservative Party split off with the Reform Party, and then the Reform Party became the Canadian Alliance. And finally, they merged back in to a new Conservative Party. This took us like 10 years. And we were lucky that the Liberal Party at the time was run by, as my father said, the most fiscally conservative government we had since the pre-World War I days.
Yeah, but yeah, starting a new party from scratch is crazy difficult.
Yeah,
crazy difficult.
In other countries, it happens more often because the process is easier there. Like we had a Conservative Party in Quebec go through 3 different parties over the course of like 5 years.
All right.
I think a parliamentary system does have its advantages.
Yeah,
I think if I were creating, say, I've actually written up future societies and such. I'm somewhat of an amateur science fiction writer and such, but I've written up societies in the future. And typically, even if you have a more conservative base, you're still going to have different factions. And it's sometimes better to have those actually be a party, and then have their coalition building be explicit and be out in the open, as opposed to factions within one big party. And I think that's sometimes a bit healthier. Both sides have pluses and minuses to them. Anyways,
we've been talking about an hour, and that's usually how it goes around here, that we can end on a high note. But your own writing, is anything out there that we could check out?
Oh, good question.
I'll be honest. I haven't written much on Ricochet recently for very simple reasons. I've been it's been pretty stressful, and reading about a lot of the stuff. And honestly, I'd rather just go and play another video game than have yet another thing.
Okay,
people
here's a good one for you. What video game should we be playing?
Okay, it depends on what your interests are, but I prefer to play games that are more cooperative rather than competitive. Mm-hmm. Maybe it's if I'm an older guy or just my nature, but right now I'm playing a lot of Elite Dangerous, which is a space combat game.
Yep.
It's space flight simulator, basically, where you can it has like a realistic galaxy that you can travel around. So if you wanted to travel to the center of the galaxy and you're willing to spend some time jumping through all the systems on the way there, you can go there and see the giant black hole in the center of the galaxy. Or go to the edge of the galaxy and look down on the galactic plane, or see all these astronomical features, trade with people, it has like a background economy. So if you want, you can go after the communist parties and crush them if you want, or you can be the vanguard of the proletariat if you want as well. It's a pretty fun little game. I also do Minecraft, and a few other games kind of like that. If it's a game where you can build things or build up things over time, I like those more. I mean, in Minecraft, I had a nuclear power plant that had like a multi-unit nuclear power plant that was functional using various mods and such to generate power, and it was actually built as close of a replica as I could to an actual boiling water nuclear reactor. So, I like that kind of complexity.
Everybody needs a hobby.
Yep.
And one thing that people don't get about games nowadays that was maybe not true, someone almost true before, but nowadays gaming is a very social activity.
Yeah.
I will regularly be talking with people from around the world. I'll be doing gaming with someone from Poland, and then later on I'll be playing with people from Wisconsin, Missouri, and a few other places probably tonight.
Mm-hmm.
So gaming has been great for ability to socialize, right? With all the stuff locked down, I can actually go on Discord or whatever and chat with people and hang out. And one of my friends is the Discord is his only way to hang out at all, because he has COVID, and so he's under complete lockdown. So gaming is and it's also, unlike most social media, we generally don't have as much toxic politics, because you don't have time for toxic politics when you're dodging asteroids.
Right.
So.
Okay. Well, that sounds like
Words to live by, right there.
Yeah. Right. So so I think this we're going to take a break for the holidays, guys, and we might do a holiday party for the group, but not for like everyone, and not a recorded show, just a chance for everyone to show up and hang out and talk to each other. But
one recommendation, if you're a gamer, Land of Confusion is great for while you're doing repetitive tasks in your game. If you're trying to grind up your levels, there's nothing better than putting on a Land of Confusion show. I managed to grind through 2 events in Elite Dangerous while listening to Skip Cell and Boss Mongo. So.
Yeah, and those are great episodes too. So, I'm going to just say, in case I don't run into you guys, otherwise, in the comments, Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.
Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, blessed joy, and joyous Chanukah. And if there's another holiday you celebrate, enjoy that one too.
Right.
Quality Kwanzaa.
Okay. Yes. Okay. Anyways, I'm going to sign off, and we'll see you guys next year.
All right. Bye-bye. Take care.
Bye.